Amaryllis is quite a strong deck, at least when it utilizes Cyber Valley. The plant engine gives you a very strong turn 1 play in the form of Titanial, which is a 2800 boss monster with an effect similar to Stardust Dragon, in that it can negate a lot of your opponent's cards. Pairing this with Miracle Fertilizer and powerful equips like DDR and Mark of the Rose, searchable by Hidden Armory, and a late game longevity in the form of Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis, which to this day is banned in the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG. This is a 2200 attack beat stick with a bonus effect of dealing them 800 points of damage each time it's destroyed. A direct attack from Amaryllis is effectively the same as that of a Blue Eyes White Dragon. The plant deck has quite a leg up on the competition. It does just have one big weakness, and that is consistency, which may hinder it from reaching the big free status. I already came up with a solution to alleviate this problem, known as the Valley Theory, and today I'll be bringing you my expansion of this theory. Mark my words, this is the future of Amaryllis. As we all know, Cyber Valley is a very good card in the Amaryllis deck. While it is very good with the take cards like Mind Control, Brain Control, or Mark of the Rose, taking your opponent's monster and banishing with Valley drawing 2 cards, or banishing it on a Dandelion token to get a Pot of Greed effect, and even setting up the Banish Zone for DDR and return from a different dimension. When we don't see any of these cards, it becomes a lot worse. If all that Cyber Valley is doing is stopping their battle phase and drawing us 1 card, when you're bricked on cards like Titanial and Amaryllis, obviously the Valley drawing your trade-in to be able to pitch any of these cards and drawing 2 more cards, getting them into the graveyard, will help you set up your plays. But unless you have a Miracle Fertilizer to pair with the Titanial in graveyard, or more plants with the Amaryllis, you're not really advancing your game state that much. And when your opponent is summoning a Blackwing each turn under Whirlwind, getting more searches and more cards, you just drawing 1 card and ending their battle phase is not really doing enough. So what I believe the Amaryllis deck is lacking is more good turn 1 plays. I think the Lightsworn package is pretty overrated. They do get you going by milling to set up your Miracle Fertilizers, or perhaps you hit a Dandelion or an Amaryllis, which makes your Lone Fire Blossoms that much better when you can tribute them off and get additional plants into the graveyard, or by tributing the Dandelion tokens, getting double Lone Fire and a Titanial, which sets you up for the 3rd turn. There will be games when your Lightsworn cards just miss, and your Lila is just gonna be attacked over by Ashura. So what else can we do? Well, by playing Quagmire Graveros in our deck, being a plant monster itself and 1900, so it has a very good stat line, and is easily tutorable by Lone Fire Blossom and Miracle Fertilizer, giving us more food for Amaryllis and keeping her around in the end phase by just revealing a Titanial or an Amaryllis that we have dead in our hand is rarely a concern. So how does Graveros really help the deck? Say you open Graveros, any plant monster to reveal in the end phase to keep her alive for the maintenance cost, and a Cyber Valley. If our Graveros was a Lila, these two wouldn't really pair very well. If the Lila doesn't mill anything of good use, we're kinda back to square one. However, if our Graveros survives, we can dump a Dandelion to the graveyard in the standby phase, use Dandelion's effect, summoning us 2 fluff tokens, giving us a board that looks something like this with a Dandelion in the graveyard. Now we can summon the Valley, use Valley's effect to banish either of the tokens, and drawing us 2 new cards. This way we can get out of the early game and apply a lot of pressure to our opponent. Because if they don't attack over the Graveros next turn, we can do something like DDR back to Cyber Valley. By using the Valley here, we can draw 2 cards. And depending on our hand, if we had a Miracle Fertilizer in our hand, and we used Hidden Armory to search the DDR, we can use the Miracle Fertilizer to bring back a plant from the grave. With the Graveros, we could have dumped a Lone Fire Blossom to the graveyard. Or in the case that we open Titanial, we could pitch her off of the DDR, and then bring her back with the Fertilizer. So you can see how just Graveros pairs so well with the rest of your engine, and gives you a good turn 1 play, as well as a 1900 attack beat stick, which is much better than Lila 1700, seeing as this can attack over Shura, it can attack over Stratos, and it's a plant herself for your Amaryllis, for your Fertilizer, for your Mark of the Rose, for your Lone Fire Blossoms. It just pairs so much better with the engine than Lila does. Additionally, outside of the aforementioned ways that we can access our engine, or just get a bunch of tokens for our power plays, we can also send down cards like Shiny Black Sea, Necrogardna, or Plague Spirit Zombie to give us more options by either stopping their synchro summoning ourselves, or protecting the Graveros, making us safe from their OTKs. A lot of the time in the Amaryllis deck, the games that you lose is when they can rush you down. And by having Gardner in the graveyard, we can save ourselves and use the rest of our engine on the following turn to just crack apart what they have and push for game. The Amaryllis deck is quite good at dealing with established fields. seeing as Fertilizer is Monster Reborn. Amaryllis is a reoccurring body that burns your opponent. Titanial is a 2800 monster that can negate their targeting traps like Dimensional Prison, Discard Traps, Book of Moon, Enemy Controller. Dandelion's tokens allows us to make various synchro plays. The take cards in the form of Mark of the Rose and Brain Control can break apart their board. DDR can get back our powerhouses like Titanial from the Banished Zone. And Lonefire Blossom can tutor any of our plant monsters. So the Gardner just making sure that we can survive is very good. And the shiny Black Sea is basically a trap hole when they summon a synchro monster. It even works against cards that special summon a synchro. So if they use, say, Call of the Haunted, as long as it's Chainlink 1, or they use Vayu effect to summon any of their Blackwing synchros, you can use shiny Black Sea to destroy it. And if you want to pair more explosive cards with the rest of your deck, you can play Needlebug Nest if you want to just hit a mass mill effect to hit all of these graveyard targets. So with all that being said, I think there's a lot more you can do with the plant deck in Edison format that people haven't yet explored. As I alluded to in the profile, I believe it's a mistake to cut Hidden Armory from your deck, even in the Valley variant. Instead of cutting down on Hidden Armory, seeing as it's kind of a normal summon as it locks out your normal summon for the turn, it's better to cut the bad normal summons out of your deck, like Tomato, Gale, and Sangan, which don't really synergize with your deck at all. Additionally, I do believe that the Graviros is very good for the deck, and if you decide to either cut the Light Sworns to play Graviros and a number of Needlebug Nests instead, or you play just 1 or 2 copies of this alongside your Light Sworn package, you will notice a boost in your win rate with the Amaryllis deck. Because the deck really is powerful. The only issue is when you're clogged on these cards early game and you can't really get out of the first few turns. But in my testing, what I've noticed is that when you do open Titanial turn 1, and you can hopefully back it up with a Miracle Fertilizer on the following turn, or some take cards with Cyber Valley to get deeper into your deck, the deck is quite unstoppable. There really isn't a real way for your opponent to come back from those games. Similar to how in Blackwings, when you have Whirlwind and a swing of monsters each turn, they just can't push through. If you enjoy my content, make sure to also subscribe to my second channel, linked in the description box down below. There I'll be posting more personalized and exclusive content.